Christian Kratz coming out of the the first down play to start the fourth quarter. Breaks a big run through the middle of the line. He'll be down all the way to the 19-yard line of Morgan territory. That'll be a pickup of 25, we'll call it. And that's another first down for Roosevelt as they continue to put the pressure on here in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, now Kratz is showing his 14th in the state running ability. That was his 10th run, and he's probably just about at 100 yards.
Actually, a pickup of 20 as the ball spotted at the 19-yard line. Urban again under center. He'll turn, and we'll see. We have a bit of an issue. I believe the clock hadn't started on time. So an official's timeout will be taken while they figure out what's going on. We'll tell you, Mustang Football is brought to you by West Tech Rentals. Whether you're a contractor or a homeowner, West Tech Rentals is your source for rental equipment and landscaping materials. We'll see what they say. This is where not having a microphone in the high school game, you have to have the coaching staff radio up to their coaching staff and have the coaching staff up here in the booth tell the clock operator what the clock should be set at. It reads 11:40 right now, and I believe that is what it should read.
Yeah, they just took 10 seconds off of the clock.
I'm not sure the clock started when it was supposed to after the first down play, so it'll be 1st and 10 from the 19-yard line. We'll do it again. Urban under center, turns, fakes the handoff to Holguin. No, Holguin does have it. He goes off the left side, and he's through the 5 into the end zone. Another touchdown. We'll call that a 19-yard run for another touchdown for Holguin. Roosevelt really pouring it on here in the second half.
And again, it goes back to Fort Morgan's offense is not able to even get a first down, and that just puts those worn-out defenders back out there. And Roosevelt's got, they've got 5 different people who've run the ball more than 5 times. They're spreading the wealth and having a great time back there.
So we'll see Rios come in to attempt the PAT. Urban with the hold. The spot is down, the kick is up, and it is good. So that'll push the score to 41-6 here at Legion Field. We'll take a timeout. You're listening to Mustang Football on B106 and B106.com. Welcome back to Legion Field. Mustang Football brought to you by Bijou T-Quest. Stop by 302 Main Street in Fort Morgan. Letter jackets, T-shirts, banners, and more. They're also your local experts customizing your team's sports apparel. The score here, 42-6, 11:27 showing on the clock here in the fourth quarter. And for Fort Morgan, this game cannot end soon enough. The kick will be fielded by Fitzsimmons, I believe, at the 5-yard line. He'll come up through the middle of the line. Again, another good return. He'll get to the 25-yard line, and Fort Morgan will take over there.
Fort Morgan has just got to really work on getting something positive that they can take out of this last 11 minutes to carry them into next week's game against a always tough Berthoud game, Berthoud team in Berthoud. And we just can't let this one game against a really good offensive team, carry over to next week.
No doubt this Roosevelt team is good, and they deserve every bit of their number 5 ranking, and I imagine they'll move up this week in the rankings. But the offense for Fort Morgan, you have a ton of questions as Martins has not been able to hold on to the ball. He'll be under center looking to throw this time. His man slips and falls, almost picked off that time. Pineda lost his footing coming out of his break on his route. Did a good job of trying to get back to his feet, but the ball will fall incomplete, and it'll bring up a 2nd and 10 from the 25-yard line.
Martins there barely had time to get the ball off and was throwing off of his back heel, mostly because Roosevelt's sending those guys just like they were on the run play. They're getting back behind the line of scrimmage.
This game has a lot of similarities to the first game of the year here versus Brush, whereas Martins was forced to throw the ball late in that game, and that's where most of his pass attempts this season have come from, was that first game. This play, he'll pitch it to Fitzsimmons, who goes around the right side. He'll gain 3 yards and be down there for a 3rd and 7 on the far sideline.
Looks like he had some daylight and maybe just tripped up over his own feet or slipped on the turf there. I'd like to see Morgan try maybe like a screen or a draw or something to take advantage of that over pursuit by the Rough Rider defense.
Well, from what we've seen out of Roosevelt is that they are bringing the men up into the box and limiting the rushing through the middle of the line. Fort Morgan's been trying to bounce the plays to the outside, but they really haven't been able to do it as Roosevelt's defense is maintaining the contain, and the linebackers and cornerbacks are stepping up and making big plays. Martin's again under center, two men, the I formation, two men spread wide. He'll turn, toss the football. Fitzsimmons will not be able to handle the toss, and the wheels really coming off for Fort Morgan here as the punt unit will come on as it's a 4th and long. We'll see the Fort Morgan defense again on the field here in the second half.
Yeah, the pitch just didn't come where Fitzsimmons was expecting it, and he bobbled it. He was lucky to get back on top of it, but not what the defense needs is a 3 and out.
A loss of 6 on the play. Zwetzig will go out there. Really a nice bright spot for Fort Morgan as he gets away another good kick. It will go out of bounds. They will spot the ball at the 43-yard line of Roosevelt territory. So another good kick by Zwetzig. One of the few bright spots, as I said, of this game for Fort Morgan.
Absolutely. The special teams, other than the one block punt, has been one of the shining spots for Fort Morgan tonight. The offense, one good drive. I don't know if they've gotten a first down since that first drive. The defense is just on their heels. They're worn out. Those guys are tired.
Fort Morgan does not have a first down here in the second half. Just to speak of how ineffective the offense has been here in the second half of the game. 42-yard line. We'll see a new quarterback now for Roosevelt. That's Kane Kratz. The name might sound familiar to you. That's Christian's brother. He is a sophomore, the younger brother to Christian. He's 5'7", 150 pounds. He comes into this game. He's no slouch, folks. He's 4-4 passing for 91 yards, 100% on his pass attempts, and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions. So a very capable backup even for Roosevelt. He'll turn and hand the ball off, though, to his running back who goes left this time. He'll be met there by a couple Morgan tacklers after gaining 4 yards. It'll bring up a 3rd and short.
Couple new running backs in the game. Looks like that was Escobar on that one and Marquez on the one before.
So a 3rd down play here for Roosevelt as they have taken out most of their starters, likely to rest them for the game that they have next week. Next week they will be hosting Frederick, so a bit of a tough test next week for Roosevelt. Kratz will keep it himself. He'll move through the middle of the line, and I think he has enough for the first down.
It's going to be close, so probably have to pull the chains in.
We'll see. Now if they don't even let the volunteer fire department get their 15 minutes of fame, they'll just tell them to move down the field, and that'll be a first down.
It's kind of like back when I was coaching. I never understood where the headline or the head official was coming from.
So the ball will be spotted at the 47-yard line of Morgan territory. Again, Roosevelt just dominating the second half. Fort Morgan with no first downs. 1st and 10, Kratz under center. He'll fake the handoff, keep it himself, move through the middle of the line again, and he'll pick up a couple there. It'll be a 2nd and 6.
These kids are coming off the sideline fresh. You know, they're probably playing some JV ball, but they've had a lot of varsity experience in, so far this season, seeing as how Roosevelt's won 45-6, 52-0, and 62-21.
Big numbers put up by this Roosevelt squad coming into this game. Just to give you an idea, 53 points a game, 476 total yards a game is what they're averaging. 320.7 average rush yards a game. This will be a give to a running back from Kratz, and a big hit there by the Fort Morgan defender. That's Fitzsimmons coming up and wrapping up the running back for Roosevelt. Randy Molinar on the carry, but Fitzsimmons equal to the task, and it'll be a 3rd and 5.
Another new running back, Randolph Molinar. sophomore for Roosevelt.
Well, we saw Kratz a little bit on defense. He's been in the game, has Kane Kratz. The interesting thing is his brother is now out of the game, the feature back for this Roosevelt squad. We'll see a man in motion. They'll fake the pitch, and Kratz is looking to pass, but he's going to be wrapped up and brought down for a big loss there. I'll get a number for you. Jay Carpenter with the sack, his first of the season, and that's a big loss. We'll call it a loss of 11. Check that. We'll call it a loss of 11, and it'll bring a 4th and long, and Roosevelt will be forced to punt.
A good defensive play there. Kratz did a little spin around, faked the handoff, and then was rolling out to his left, and the right defensive end for Fort Morgan got out there and made the play.
Semler into punt. Fitzsimmons deep to receive for Fort Morgan. Semler receives the snap, a bit of a high one, but he gets the kick away. Fitzsimmons will back up to his own 14-yard line. He's able to get away from a tackler. He's on the near sideline across the 35 to the 40. He steps out of bounds at the 37-yard line. A return of 20 yards. Check that, 24 yards there on the return. And it'll be first down. We'll see if Fort Morgan can save face here in the late goings of this game. 5:48 on the clock.
A couple first downs, some positive things that you can carry forward into the next game. I think the game's out of reach at 42-6. I don't think I'd like to see them passing and trying to score, but just establish a nice rhythm to carry into the next game.
Really, at this point, you don't want to give away any of your secrets for next week's opponent. So you kind of want to just stick to the game plan. This is a trap play. The ball goes on the ground, but it's recovered there as Pineda gets the carry. He fumbled the football, but recovered it, picked up 2 yards, and it'll be a 2nd and 8 play.
Yeah, a dangerous thing when you're down 42-6 to be putting the ball on the ground.
Wouldn't you know it, the first time I mentioned ball security in the pregame interview with Harrison Chisholm, I mentioned that this Roosevelt team has been able to force the turnovers. In fact, coming into tonight, they have 6 interceptions and 3 fumble recoveries. That's been added to. But this is the first time we've seen the ball security really lacking on the Fort Morgan side. Martins will drop back to pass, and he'll be wrapped up. He gets away from a tackler. Now he's got some room to run. There's going to be a flag, possibly a hold there, as Martin scampers out of bounds. The linesman not marking where he went out of bounds. Oh, he is there at the 41-yard line. Oh, it'll be a face mask against Roosevelt. The 5-yard variety. You know, that's the 3rd or 4th time that we've seen a face mask only go for 5 yards.
I thought they'd remove that in the high school game, but they may have brought it back. I know a lot of times with high school officiating, they don't want to make the penalty the big 15, because then the official doesn't want to call the incidental face mask and really penalize a kid for just getting a hand up there. And so that's why they go with a shorter penalty like that.
So it'll bring up a 2nd and 2 after the 5-yard mark-off. Check it. 2nd and, we'll call it 2 after the 5-yard markup. Martins drops back to pass, has a man wide open, and Fitzsimmons on the near sideline. He's got it at the 30, the 25, the 20, the 15, 10, 5, and he is in for the touchdown. A little bit of life here late for Fort Morgan as they now have 12 points on the board.
Yeah, beautiful 53-yard touchdown. That's the kind of positive thing that the Fort Morgan offense needed to have to build on for next week.
Fitzsimmons runs a little wheel route coming out of the backfield, wide open, completely unmarked. And we'll see Frick come on to attempt the PAT. No. We will see Martins go in to attempt the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess you always want to score as many points as possible, but here's a good opportunity to practice your PAT that you might need later on in the season.
Well, we've seen how shaky Frick is kicking those PATs, especially late in games. They've almost cost the Mustangs in the last 2. Martins will go under center, 3 men in the backfield. He'll turn, fake the handoff, and he's looking to pass. He's got a man wide open in the back of the end zone, and it is caught for the 2-point conversion. Jacob Frick, who has missed PATs, makes up for his missed PAT earlier and catches the 2-point conversion. So the score now 42-14. We'll take a timeout here. You're listening to Mustang Football on B106 and B106.com. Welcome back here into Legion Field. I'm Alex Egan, joined by Kevin Rohde. The score 42-14 after the 53-yard reception of Fitzsimmons. Martins to Fitzsimmons. The PAT was the 2-point conversion. Frick on the receiving end of a Martins pass. Frick will tee the football up at the 40-yard line. We could see some trickery here as Armando Lopez is 5 yards closer to the football than everybody else. Frick will kick it deep, and it'll be handled at the 5-yard line for Roosevelt. They'll return it up the far sideline. He's got room to run, does the Roosevelt returner. Still not down. He'll get all the way to the 40-yard line. And with 4:36 remaining in the game, Roosevelt again starts another drive with very good field position.
And a weary Fort Morgan defense returns out there to try and stop this potent offense. Almost as potent with the second-teamers in there as they are with the starters.
Mustang Football is brought to you by Insurance Connection. Whether it's health, life, or dental insurance, or Medicare supplements, see Sharon Kaufman at Insurance Connection. So the Mustangs defense probably got a little bit of life out of seeing their offense put together a scoring play after not being able to pick up a first down the entire second half. Get this, Kevin, they still don't have a first down.
I was going to say it's nice to score, but maybe take 4 or 5 plays.
The handoff this time will go to the left side for Roosevelt. That'll be for no gain, and it'll be a 2nd and 9. Check that, 2nd and 10.
Yeah, with all the substitutes going in there, it's hard to tell which sophomore is carrying the ball.
The luxury you're afforded if you're Roosevelt when you get up big like that early in the game or even after the third quarter, you're allowed to substitute in those players and get them some varsity experience because you know those seniors won't be here next year, and it's hard to get that feeling of playing in a varsity football game.
Absolutely, the experience and also being part of a winning program that just builds on the previous success.
Kane Kratz does remain in at quarterback. He'll turn and hand the ball off where the more Roosevelt running back met right at the line. He plunges forward with the forward progress for about a yard, but it'll be a 3rd and 9.
That's the senior, Brandon Marquez. It's nice to see him getting some of the seniors that don't start an opportunity to run the ball.
The clock continuing to run, 3:28 and counting here. The score 42-14. Roosevelt leads. Most of the second stringers in for Roosevelt, and we've seen a few substitutions now for Fort Morgan as Pineda is no longer on the field, but Jose Miranda, the leading tackler, is still in. Kratz doing a good job of working the entire play clock. He'll turn, hand the ball to his running back, and again Miranda steps up, and a big hit delivered. And that'll bring up a 4th and long play.
Escobar back in for another run. Lost a yard, maybe.
We'll see what Roosevelt elects to do. Looks like they are bringing on the punt unit. Slowly bringing on the punt unit as they're trying to milk as much clock as possible. The 4th and 6 play here. We'll see Semler come in to punt. Back deep to receive for Fort Morgan is Fitzsimmons. A little bit of personnel issues now for Fort Morgan as a man comes on late. A little bit of a high snap. Semler handles it, and he gets away a very good kick. Fitzsimmons will move underneath it, and he'll back away from it. The ball will bounce, continue to bounce, take a Roosevelt roll, and be down at the 2-yard line. So Semler comes into the game tonight without having a single punt down to inside the 20, and tonight he's got 2 that have really pinned Fort Morgan back deep in their own territory.
Yeah, that's really difficult as a punt returner but you have to be ready to run up and get underneath those short punts because that just killed them.
So a good punt by Semler pins Fort Morgan at their own 2. Again, they will be under the shadow of their own goalpost, starting another drive with 2 minutes and 1 second showing on the clock here in the fourth quarter. Martins drops back to pass. He is almost sacked. He gets rid of the football. We'll see if a flag comes out. I believe he had an eligible receiver nearby. We won't see the flag for intentional grounding, but it will be 2nd and 10 from the 2.
Very dangerous to drop back and pass from your own end zone, even if you're down 42-14.
So Fort Morgan still with a minute 55 as the clock stopped on the incompletion, still looking for that first down of the second half. 2 wide receivers, 3 men in the backfield for Martins. 2 men flanking him with a fullback deep. Martins again will drop back to pass, and this time he's wrapped up again. He will throw it, and I'm not sure he got that back to the line of scrimmage. That should be the flag. He had the eligible receiver. No, the flag is down. The flag is down, and it'll be a timeout as there is an injured player down on the field for Roosevelt.
Yeah, they've changed the way that they run that now. Instead of the referee calling that penalty, he waits for the side judges to decide whether that pass was past the line of scrimmage, but definitely a grounding.
Well, we're still waiting to see. I don't see any yellow out on the field.
Well,
so he might have gotten away with one there while the injured Roosevelt player gets up to his feet. We'll tell you that Mustang football is brought to you by Equitable Savings and Loan, Northeast Colorado's hometown savings and loan in Fort Morgan and Brush. The injured player for Roosevelt, Bryce Schultz, is able to walk off with his arm around a couple members of the coaching staff for Roosevelt. So no grounding play that time. It'll be a 3rd and 10 play. Martins again will be under center. 2 men spread, 1 each direction, 3 men in the backfield. Fitzsimmons goes in motion. Now he will get the pitch, and he'll go around the right side of the line. He's got a little bit of space out there. Will get across to about the 8-yard line. So it looks like they'll give themselves a little bit more room to punt, because that's all that play was able to do, and that is what we will see as Wetzig and the rest of the punt unit comes out onto the field. So still no first downs for Fort Morgan here in the second half.
And that's a good strategy. Even though you may not get the first down on a run play, you have to get Zwetzig a chance to get off the ball.
Zwetzig will stand about 3-4 yards deep in his own end zone. So he's looking to punt the ball away. Stadler waiting for Roosevelt. And we're going to see a timeout taken by Fort Morgan. This timeout brought to you by Edwards Right Price Market and Flowerland, located at 1201 East Platte Avenue in Fort Morgan. Stop by and get what you need to refuel on game days. A minute 5 showing on the clock here. Again, a little bit of a personnel problem for Fort Morgan as they only had 10 men on the field. So something is wrong in terms of not only the way that this game has gone with the score, the ball security has gone wrong for Fort Morgan. The mental errors are adding up for Fort Morgan in terms of not being on the field when you're supposed to be, and that has got to make Harrison Chisholm irate on the sidelines. You can see him pacing there as he walks back towards the bench here on this near sideline. He has taken the headset off.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a few harsh words at the end of the game in the locker room, and there's going to be some challenging of manhood that's going to have to be done.
Zwetzig gets off a low-line drive punt that'll go down to the 40-yard line of Fort Morgan territory. So only about a 25-yard punt that time by Zwetzig. And we'll see with a minute 5 left what Roosevelt's offense decides to do.
I'd like to see Roosevelt go into the victory formation and just take a knee. And I know Fort Morgan's got their timeouts left, and there's always that psyche of, well, we don't want to ever quit. But with a minute 5 left and a game that's completely out of hand, let's just pack up and work towards next week.
For all intents and purposes, this game is over. Even though there still shows a minute 5 on the clock, Roosevelt's going to come out in their regular formation. 2 men spread wide, 3 men, 2 flanking the quarterback Kratz, who turns and hands it off to his fullback. He'll be stopped for a minimal gain, thrown back. The running back this time for Roosevelt.
I'm not finding him on the
is not listed.
listing. So.
That's how deep they've gone into their depth chart. Playing players that aren't listed on the roster that we've received. And it's a 2nd and 8 after the run by the unknown man. Kratz again looking at the back judge, sees the arm wave, will get the ball, turn and hand it off to his running back, who goes right this time, gets to about the 35-yard line where he's tackled there.
That should wrap up the ball game.
It will bring up a 3rd and 5, but with the clock showing under 10 seconds, Roosevelt elects not to run another play, and they will walk away here from Legion Field with the victory. There goes the clock to zeros. 42-14, the final score here at Legion Field. When we come back, we'll have the postgame show for you as Roosevelt defeats Fort Morgan. Fort Morgan 0-2 here at Legion Field in 2011. 42-14, the final score. Come back, stay with us. We'll have the postgame show with wrap-up and statistics here from tonight. You're listening to Mustang Football on B106 and B106.com.